Hey guys, welcome back. We are introducing a segment called Misconception Monday. We are talking about common misconception in the ASD community, and today I am joined here with.
Zakira Golden.
And can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so I am a BCBA provider here in Powder Springs, Georgia. I am the BCBA owner of Behavior Analysis and Intervention Center. I have been in the field of ABA for about 12 years now, so a very, very, very long time. And I'm so excited to do this interview today.
Yay, thanks for having me. Okay, so my first question is it true that people with autism lack empathy or emotional connection?
So I would say no, mainly because the two main core symptoms of autism is restrictive and repetitive behaviors and the social emotional portion, right? So a lot of our clients, they do struggle with social skills. However, many of the adults that I've encountered, they do not lack that empathy. So I'm not sure if it's from early intervention and kind of learning those social skills as they've grown, and or just being in real life situations or having individuals around them who are teaching them these skills. But I do not feel like they lack empathy. I feel if not, most often they just need to understand how social interaction is, what it means. So what it means to understand if someone fell and they're crying. A lot of the time it's explaining to them that they fell and they hurt their knee, and that that's why they're crying. So I don't think that they lack empathy. They really do care. I
Hmm.
feel as though we have to teach them in a different way of what that means.
Okay. Okay. And follow-up question, do you
Mm-hmm.
feel like individuals who receive early intervention, it's easier for them to express empathy?
From my experience, yes, early intervention is so, so, so important because you can facilitate these social skills interactions with like peers, like I guess the same age peers, and you can ensure that as they're growing each year, we're focusing on those different developmental milestones, social developmental milestones. So all of those things are important so that when our kiddos are in their teen years and adult years, they're ready for the world.
Okay, makes sense, makes sense. My next question is, do all individuals with autism have the same set of symptoms and characteristics?
So, yes and no. So, again, individuals on the spectrum, you're going to have those main core deficits or symptoms of autism. Again, the restricted or repetitive behavior. So, restricted may be they just really love to play with trains. That's their favorite thing to play with. It doesn't matter what's going on. Trains is, that's the main thing on their mind. Repetitive behaviors could be our kiddos lining up things, and or they're wanting to go to the same room every single day or do the same exact routine every single day. And then you have those social and emotional areas of autism, right? And so those are going to be your main areas, but you may also have individuals on the spectrum who struggle with other types of areas in their life. So functional communication, they might have feeding issues, they may have just kind of motor issues, they with fine motor, gross motor. And so you just really want to make sure that you're implementing all different types of therapies that focus more on those deficits as well. So you may have feeding therapy for one kiddo, but another kiddo may be in OT.
Okay, okay, okay. Moving on to the following question. Is autism solely a childhood condition that individuals can outgrow as they age?
So this is a taboo thing. I have heard that people will say, okay, well, I've outgrown my autism, or my child is cured of their autism, but there is no cure. There has not been a cure that has been found for autism. Most often, our individuals on the spectrum have learned to function better, and or they have been present in some type of therapy or something like that, so that when they are out in the community, they can, again, function better. So, for example, if I have a kiddo that throws things in public, we're going to work on that in therapy. And then over time, they have learned, these are some great replacement behaviors. So our kiddo is not throwing. Now I'm replacing it with them using their words or something like that.
Okay. And do you feel like there's a certain type of therapy that works best for people to kind of not have the symptoms, but learn more and function better?
So I will say no as far as best. The biggest thing is going off of whatever the developmental pediatrician or the licensed psychologist, I'm sorry, has written within that diagnostic evaluation. So at the end of that diagnostic evaluation, you're going to see what their recommendations are. So it may be speech therapy, it may be ABA therapy or applied behavior analysis, it may be occupational therapy. It just really depends on what those recommendations are.
Okay, makes sense. And
Mhm.
how would one go about getting a diagnosis?
So, finding a licensed psychologist or developmental psychologist. Most often, if you look on the back of your insurance card, you're able to find a member number and you can give them a call to see where the licensed psychologists and developmental psychologists are in your area to get secure an appointment to get for that diagnostic evaluation.
Okay, thank you for that helpful information.
Mm-hmm.
So, my next question is it accurate to say that people on the autism spectrum cannot form meaningful relationships?
No, 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 no. So there is a show, Love on the Spectrum. It is a reality show. I can't remember what year it came out. Maybe 2020, 2021, something like that.
Pretty recent.
But yes, very recent. But it is a reality show where individuals on the spectrum are looking for love and they go on dates and they, have jobs. They build relationships with people at work and things like that as well. So I don't feel as though individuals on the spectrum cannot build relationships.
Okay, thank you for debunking that. Do vaccines cause autism, as some misconceptions suggest?
So yes, this is another taboo thing. There is no proof that I have seen where vaccines they are the cause of autism. Right now, they're still looking for the cause and they're looking for the cure. Researchers and doctors they're looking for these things, and so there's a lot of money in research. But no, I do not believe that vaccines
Okay,
are the cause of
I've heard
autism.
that, but I didn't believe it to be true.
Mm-hmm.
Never know. Is autism more common in males than females? If so, do you know why?
So I don't know why, but it is autism spectrum disorder is more common in males than females. Most often, it's a 4-to-1 ratio. If you go on, let's say, I believe the CDC counts every thousand individuals. So for 1,000 individuals, it's 4-to-1 as far as an autism diagnosis for boys and girls, or males or females.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
learn something new every day. My next question is: are repetitive behaviors in individuals with autism always a sign of limited cognitive abilities?
No, no. So even though restricted and repetitive behaviors, like we talked about before, even though that is one of the core signs and symptoms of autism spectrum disorder, that does not mean that reduces the cognitive ability. So I have many clients. So for example, I have had one client in the past where they love Thomas the Train, and if you watch the show, there may be about 5 or 6 trains like on the show, but in reality, there are almost like 1,100 Thomas the
Oh,
Train engines from all over the world. They have different paint and colors. There are some in Africa, like some in South America. They have so many different trains, and you can literally show him a picture of the train, and this client would name that exact name of that
oh
train
wow.
even though he had restrictive and repetitive behaviors. So it just really depends on the person. I've worked with an adult client where you can literally he will ask you what your birthday is and what your birth year is, and he could tell you what day you were born on.
Oh
And this
wow.
is for everyone that he comes across, and he had restrictive and repetitive behaviors. So no, I do not believe that restrictive and repetitive behaviors reduce cognitive ability. It really is based on the individual person.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, my next question is: are individuals with autism more likely to be averse to change or change of environments?
So yes, like that is definitely something that can be aversive to our kiddos, and or changing up those patterns can like significantly interrupt their daily routine. So, for example, our kiddos who are out for like Christmas break, spring break, summer breaks, if they're in school and then they come here for services, most often when school is out, all of that, most often the morning routine is kind of, there's a little bit more free play, or we're at home, we're in our natural environment, and it's not as structured as school. So when it is time to go back to school, or it's time to kind of get back to those routines, sometimes it takes a little bit of time for us to kind of level out and get back to our normal behaviors.
Okay. And do you think that kind of goes hand in hand with why there's a lot of people with autism that only like specific foods, like they only like to eat specific things?
I think that may be a sensory thing. I
Okay.
think that may be a sensory thing. And that is one, I know we spoke earlier about what are some additional signs that, someone may see that may be a sign that someone may be on the spectrum, but definitely the sensory part is there. So our kiddos who just love crunchy things, or our kiddos who just like really, maybe they just like the texture of fruit, or maybe they like a specific sandwich the same exact way. I think that aligns more with the sensory.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's to know. I think that is the end of my list of questions. But is there anything that you would like the viewers to know, or anything you would tell somebody who is neurotypical, who doesn't know that much about autism but wants to learn more?
Yes. So I always like to say we work with our kiddos all the time on how to interact with our world, but our world does not always interact with our kiddos the correct way. So, for example, we'll be in a grocery store, you may see a child that is screaming, or you may see a child who's covering their ears, or maybe, they have headphones on or something like that, because the whole world is maybe overstimulating to them. So, definitely giving parents more grace when you are seeing people in the community, or children or individuals in the community that may be struggling. Offer to give someone a hand, especially if you see someone that is different from you, and or a parent. Just kind of even asking like, "Hey, do you need support? Do you need help getting into the store, or whatever it is?" Just being a good person, a great person for the community. I think that is just so important. For someone who is looking for resources and things like that, there are so many arenas out there where you can find more information. I would say the CDC website is a great website to go to figure out more about autism spectrum disorder, and the prevalence of autism spectrum disorder. And I guess my last thing is just early intervention is so, so, so important. Just being in the field as long as I've been in the field, I have seen the teenagers that have come in that did not have early intervention services, but they've had diagnoses since 2 or 3. And it takes a little bit longer to teach the skills that are needed for our teens to transition into adulthood and to transition out into the community, in a social or a functional way. So early intervention, if you know that you have a diagnosis and or you sense something is wrong, definitely tell your medical providers. Try to sign up as quickly as possible. Wait lists are crazy everywhere, so you may have a wait list of 6 to 8 months, but get on those wait lists so that you can get the diagnosis, so that you can get the treatment support. Because most often, unfortunately, after the age of 18 and or 21, our kiddos don't have the same resources available to them.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that information,
You're
and thank you
welcome.
for helping us debunk the misconceptions today. Thank you for just being here.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks for
Bye.
watching.